Hello, my name is Bob Doman. I'm the founder and director of the National Association for Child Development. This video is part of a series of videos that we've created on children with Down syndrome. In this particular segment, I want to talk about speech. In previous segments, I've talked about different issues that affect the hearing, auditory, tonal development, sequential processing, different pieces. Specifically relative to speech, there's a number of things we need to look at. First of all, it's important to understand the difference between speech and language. Language is what you say. Speech is how well you articulate or enunciate what you say. And it's very important that you as parents or therapists or educators really understand what that difference is. For most of our children, the bigger problem often is language. And we've got to do all those pieces, as I discussed in other videos, how to develop the language skills. But relative to speech skills, generally we're talking here about the effects of the tonal processing. You can't enunciate a sound you can't hear. You can't articulate a sound you cannot hear. So all the auditory components are very critical and need to be understood and addressed. And there are a lot of methodologies available now that we have to address those issues. We also need to have someone look at the structure. All right, we need to see that the jaw placement is as it should be. We need to look at the palate. We need to look at the size of the tonsils. We need to look at congestion, sinus issues. All those things can affect the structure, which ultimately are going to affect the speech. We also have issues relative to the tongue itself, in terms of size of the tongue, whether or not the tongue is being utilized properly. We have some children who do play with their tongue, where they suck on their tongue. We have issues relative to how the child learns to use his tongue. That is, things like sippy cups, which are encouraging the wrong movement of the tongue. Children who are suckling rather than using their lips properly. All those things are significant. So we need to look at the structure and the function of the mouth. Believe it or not, one of the most important things relative to every child on the planet learning to speak and enunciate is chewing. And many of our children with Down syndrome do not learn or not taught how to chew properly. So chewing is kind of the first step that teaches a child how to manipulate their tongue to move food into the molars, how to chew properly. All right, that is kind of the basis of starting to develop tongue control. So looking at the tongue, looking at lips, lip strength, all those things that affect oral motor function are rather key to developing proper speech. Having a child simply attempt to repeat things over and over again is not going to significantly affect the pieces often that are broken. So step number one is looking at all the pieces, determining what pieces need to be addressed, what needs to be fixed, and then establishing protocols specifically to address those issues relevant to your specific child or that specific child. Right. Again, it's very individualized. And it is relatively complex. There are a lot of different pieces that need to be looked at. And again, as I mentioned in other videos, it's very important that we look at a child as a unique child, and we look at that entire child and see how all their pieces come together, need to be brought together to produce the function that we need and want. Thanks.